Hi everybody, my name is Reese and this is my video series where I show you how to do cool things in SPSS in under 10 minutes. In this video we explore how to perform an independent samples t-test in SPSS. If you want to work along with me, please feel free to access the dataset from the description below. Quick disclaimer, this video does not explore the appropriate assumption tests for this analysis. I have assumed that all assumptions have been met. If you are performing your own analyses, please make sure you test for the relevant parametric assumptions. Before we jump headfirst into SPSS, let's just briefly revise the purpose of an independent samples t-test. So all t-tests compare means, with the independent variety testing whether two independent groups significantly differ on a particular metric-dependent variable. In this video, I will be testing whether cholesterol levels differ significantly between two independent groups. A group of patients who've experienced a heart attack, and a second group of controls. In this scenario, the independent variable will be called group in SPSS, and the dependent variable is called cholesterol level. That's enough theory and disclaimers though, let's jump straight into SPSS. Okay everyone, so now you can see that I've moved into SPSS, but before we do our t-tests, let's have a look around, shall we? So I have two columns of data here representing my independent variable and my dependent variable. You can see here that my IV group has two levels. If I move to variable view very quickly, I'll show you what those variables have been coded as, or values have been coded as. So you can see here 1 is representing a heart attack patient, 2 is representing a control patient, and that variable is a nominal variable. Cholesterol level here is a scale variable. Moving back to data view, you can see that that's clearly represented there. If I flick this little button here, I can change to view my value labels. And again, you can see I've got two independent groups, heart attack patients and control patients. Now, to actually perform an independent samples t-test, we need to go up to Analyze, Compare Means. And you can see here we've got different analyses where we can compare means. We're after an independent samples t-test here. And at this dialog box here, we're greeted with our variables in our dataset on the left-hand side, and we have to drag them to various boxes here. So where it says grouping variable, that'll be your independent variable. So I'm going to go ahead and place group down there. And then I'm going to go ahead and place cholesterol level as my test variable. Now, as you can see, I want to click OK. I want to run my analyses, but I cannot. That's because I personally, as the user of SPSS, I know what my groups have been coded as, but SPSS does not. So I have to click this button here called Define Groups, and I have to tell SPSS that Group 1 has been coded as the value 1, and Group 2 has been coded as the value 2. Now it doesn't actually matter what is called Group 1, what is called Group 2. I could have just as easily done this. Group 1, call that 2. Group 2, we'll call that 1. It would still give me the same overall result. What you can do, however, if you want, to make your output a little bit easier to interpret, if you place the group that has the larger mean as Group 1, and the group which has the lower mean as Group 2, it'll mean that your mean difference ends up being positive. So the mean difference will be calculated as Group 1 minus Group 2. So if you do it this way, it makes it easier to interpret your mean difference and your confidence interval for your mean difference as well. So I'm going to go ahead now and select OK and run the analysis. So here you can see the output for an independent samples t-test, which is two different boxes here. So the first box gives you your descriptive statistics. So for each independent group, it gives you your sample size, the mean, and the standard deviation. So you can see here for heart attack patients, I had 75 people in this particular independent group. They have a mean cholesterol level of 237 with a standard deviation of 47.69. The control patients, you can see they had slightly less of them, so with only 30 patients there, and their cholesterol level is significantly lower. So it's 193.13. So before we even look at the results of our independent samples t-test, it looks like something is going on. Here is the output specifically for the statistical test. Now, I do want to draw your attention to one key feature of this table. That is the two different rows we have here. So the first row is called equal variances assumed, and the second row is called equal variances not assumed. Now, I did say in a disclaimer before this video, or before the analysis, that I wouldn't be exploring assumptions in this particular video. However, because SPSS gives me the ability to easily test for this assumption, we may as well do it anyway. So there is an assumption of an independent samples t-test which states the variation around the group means should be similar between your two groups. So if I look at my two independent groups here, it's okay for their means to be different. That's exactly what we're testing for. However, the variation around these group means should be similar. As you can see here from the standard deviations, the average variation around these means is quite large for the heart attack patients and a little bit smaller for the control patients. And what we can see here from Levine's test of homogeneity of variances is that this is actually a significant violation in this assumption. The good news, however, is that the output itself gives us an easy way to interpret this violation. So if your variances are equal, so if this result here was not significant, you could simply interpret all of the information in the top row here. Because I have a significant violation here, I have to interpret the bottom row, equal variances not assumed. Okay, looking at this bottom row of statistics in more depth here, let's have a look at what the results of this test actually tell us. So we have a very large t-value here, which is already indicative of a significant result. However, if we move specifically onto the p-value itself, this value here will tell us if our two means differ significantly. So if these two means differ by more than simple random sampling variability or by more than chance alone. And as this p-value here is less than 0.05, we can confidently state that these two means do in fact differ significantly from one another. To put it into context of this particular research, it looks like that heart attack patients have significantly higher cholesterol levels than that of control patients. And we can see here that this mean difference is in fact 43.88 cholesterol levels different. That's this mean here subtracting this mean. So 237 subtract 193 gives us a mean difference of 43.88. We can also see here that our confidence interval, so the interval in which we are 95% confident will contain the true population mean difference, is somewhere between 30.29 and 57.47. Again, remember, if any of these statistics are not familiar to you, you can use the what's this function. So if you double click on the output, this little pivoting tray thing will appear. If you select something, so we'll select a t-value for example, right mouse click and select what's this, you can get a little short description about what that particular statistics is trying to tell you. It's a nice little handy quick tip if there's a few little things that you can't quite remember. So you can see here from the output, nice simple two pieces of output here. We have our group statistics, our descriptive statistics first, which tells us descriptively that our two means differ significantly, and then the independent samples t-test itself lets us know that our two means do in fact differ significantly from one another. That wraps up this short video tutorial today. Hopefully now you can confidently perform an independent samples t-test in SPSS and can interpret the relevant output. I hope to catch you for another one of my stats videos where I continue to explore more cool things in SPSS in under 10 minutes.